hello everyone. We just thought that for those of you who might not be able to make it to come out to the trail, that we would do a little virtual walkthrough of the trail and go along and read the signs for you. So thank you for joining us. We're gonna start our trail.
So the theme of our walking meditation is summer reflections.
This is listening meditation, and so there's an activity for this. It says, we are always surrounded by sounds of birds, wind, cars, music, and much more, but we rarely notice them. When we stop to focus on the soundscapes around us, we can dwell more fully in each moment and recognize the amazing diversity of life and activity around us at all times. Every season brings a new spectrum of sounds. The winter is the quieter season when birds have migrated away, mammals are hibernating, and the muffling effect of snow. The spring is the noisier season when birds return with excited chatter and the rain patters on our roofs. In this listening meditation, focus on the sounds of summer all around you. What sounds can you hear if you listen silently for 3 minutes? What's making these sounds? What directions are these sounds coming from? How would these sounds be different a few hours from now or a few months from now? I'll give a few seconds to just listen. And then there are additional activities, but we're going to keep walking.
Blessing by Irene Blair Honeycutt. May time grant you the lasting memory of the summer night. On Jonas Ridge, when we were walking the dogs late, the white rail fence our guide. When we turned back toward the cabin, darkness pressed against our faces, and a host of fireflies flashed in the mist, settling on the fields, blinking green from another realm, lighting the divide between road and weeds. The dogs looked up. Frenzied katydids took a rest. Following the tiny globes, we felt our way to the gravel hill that sloped toward the yellow glow of lamplight from the cabin windows.
This one is titled, The Woman Who Turned Down a Date with a Cherry Farmer. Fredonia, New York. Of course I regret it. I mean, there I was under the umbrellas of fruit, so red they had to be born of a summer and no other season. Flip-flops and fishhooks, ice cubes made of lemonade and sprigs of mint to slip in the blue glasses of tea. I was dusty, my ponytail all askew, and the tips of my fingers ran, of course, red. From the fruit wounds of cherries I plunked into my bucket, and still, he must have seen some small bit of loveliness in walking his orchards with me. He pointed out which trees were sweetest, which ones were double seeds, puffing out the flesh, and oh, the surprise on your tongue with 2 tiny stones. A twin spit. Making a small gun of your mouth. Did I mention my favorite color is red? His jeans were worn and twisty around the tops of his boots, his hands thick but careful, nimble enough to pull fruit from his trees without tearing the skin. The cherry dust and the fingerprints on his eyeglasses. I just know when he stuffed his hands in his pockets, said, "Okay," couldn't hurt to try, and shuffled back to his roadside stand to arrange his jelly jars and sacks of buckets. I had made a terrible mistake. I just know my summer would have been full of pies, tartlets, turnovers, so much jubilee.
Summer, author unknown. What do we see when we think of summer? Red, orange, and yellow. Staying home, playing games, being happy and mellow. Trips to the ocean and river, camping, swimming, fun. Going away to summer camp, and naps under the sun. It was June, and the world smelled of roses. The sunshine was like powdered gold over the grassy hillside. Maud Hart Lovelace. It is easy to forget now how effervescent and free we all felt that summer. Anna Godberson. The summer night is like a perfection of thought. Wallace Stevens. Rest is not idleness, and to lie sometimes on the grass on a summer day, listening to the murmur of water or watching the clouds float across the sky is hardly a waste of time. John Lubbock.
None of us knew where the rope swings came from. They just were. As far as we knew, they had always been there, because we couldn't remember a time at the creek without them. But then again, we didn't need to know. All we knew was that the first swing took us over the gorge, and for most of us, it was our first time really flying. It was the first leap of faith. The second rope swing almost skimmed the water, but you could stay dry if you were careful. One time, Jimmy wasn't careful, and he smiled as he splashed his way out of the creek, walking through the door of our laughter. Damien couldn't stop laughing, which only made us laugh even more. Then they built the trail through those woods. They thought it would get people out of the house and never stopped to ask us what we thought. I should go back there and try to listen for the laughter again. I should check if the rope swings really are eternal.
Red Bird Explains Himself by Mary Oliver. Yes, I was the brilliance floating over the snow, and I was the song in the summer leaves, but this was only the first trick. I had hold of among my other mythologies, for I also knew obedience, bring sticks to the nest, food to the young, kisses to my bride. But don't stop there. Stay with me. Listen. If I was a song that entered your heart, then I was the music of your heart that you wanted and needed. And thus, wilderness bloomed that way, with all its followers, gardeners, lovers, people who weep for the death of rivers. And this was my true task, to be the music of the body. Do you understand? For truly the body needs a song, a spirit, a soul, and no less to make this work. The soul has need of a body, and I am both of the earth and I am of the inexplicable beauty of heaven, where I fly so easily, so welcome, yes, and this is why I have been sent to teach this to your heart. When I look at this painting by Van Gogh, it inspires the feeling of summer beauty. I can imagine sitting on the shore, feeling a warm ocean breeze and hearing seagulls. Further, I can't help but think of Van Gogh's life. He was unsuccessful during his lifetime. He was considered mentally ill, basically a failure, and lived off the generosity of his family. He suffered with depression for much of his life and committed suicide at the age of 37. He had no idea that years after his death, he would attain widespread acclaim and his paintings would be among the most expensive ever sold. He felt like his life was not worth living, and yet his life and work resonates tremendously with people to this day. His story reminds me that we do not know what the future holds. We may find ourselves thinking our actions don't matter, that they seem futile, but it may be those very actions that become bigger than ourselves. Van Gogh is thought of as a tragic figure, but think of how much more tragic it would have been if he hadn't bothered to paint because all the external factors told him it was pointless. We must all go and paint our truth of risk depriving the world of our starry nights. And I wrote that.
By Noel McClooney. This is a collection of quotes and sayings. It takes both sunshine and rain to make a rainbow. When the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world will know peace. By Jimi Hendrix. That's Jimi Hendrix. Growth is painful. Change is painful. But nothing is as painful as staying stuck somewhere you don't belong. Sometimes you face difficulties not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're doing something right.
Poems by Sandra L. Faulkner. How to Eat a Peach. As jars of jam cool on the counter, a ceiling lid, the ping of summer, roll up your sleeves and stand in front of the kitchen sink. The stainless steel nicked from years of sustaining a family, feeding so many. Think of how the taste is like July, the heat of a Georgia summer, hot as a child's boredom, and the steam from the pressure cooker. Lick the juice from your arm while not dropping a drip. Feel the stick of your fingers as you turn to find a bite spot. Suck the last bit of flesh from the pit as if these small tasks will save us.
This one just has two quick sayings. One is by Mark Twain. The coldest winter I ever spent was a summer in San Francisco. And goodbye, summer. You were supposed to save us from spring, but everyone just slumped into you. That's an excerpt from Fall Parties by Becca Cleaver. And then there are a number of songs. We're going to keep going. So this one is actually a poem I wrote a number of years ago. So Kevin McClooney, called What Future Holds. Images of the future, like broken glass. 1,000 different puzzles, which will pass. On grassy knolls or windswept groves, each choice is made, our passage laid.
Adapted from When Then Do We Not Despair by Anna Akhmatova. Everything is plundered, betrayed, sold. Death's great black wing scrapes the air. Misery gnaws to the bone. Why then do we not despair? By day from the surrounding woods, cherries blow summer into town. At night, the deep, transparent skies glitter with new galaxies, and the miraculous comes so close to the ruined, dirty houses.
Here we have another poem by Sandra Faulkner entitled Mother Is. A verb. To mother is not biology or sex, not tied to body parts, but action. And oh, how I want to be mothered now. They said rest when you become a mother, but there is only touch and holding one another. So touch me like storied silk. Think of how white-tailed rabbits weave a nest out of grass and their own hair. Avoid the spot during the daylight to not alert the neighborhood dogs feeding their kittens in the crepuscular light. Let's make a poultice out of silk and rage, stir the pot of trouble bubbling with a spoon of not quite mothered. I need this dream of our mother, how she writes the world with a breath of liquid wrath suspended in a candy bubble. She swaddles her anger and places it in a nest of rabbits, wakes up to find a bouquet of roses in the mailbox. Let mother be the knot of silk, giving you something to hold, and tie your pain to the knotted places. Mother knits your clothes in silk, as soft as rabbit fur, so you can breathe, exhale. Run so fast they can't hunt you as you thump your displeasure. We can't drink from a dry, wild mother.
Home. For me, summer is usually a time when I get to drive to my hometown and visit family. A chance to recharge and hold my loved ones close to me. This summer, of course, was different. I didn't get to go home, and I feel that deeply. but it was also my first summer in my new house, where I'm lucky enough to live with two people whom I love with all my heart. This summer for us was about building that feeling of home in a place that is still new to us, making it into a home that will be ours for years to come. For me then, it was a summer of firsts. My first house, my first summer taking care of the lawn, my first summer fixing things around the house, my first summer watching the sun rise in our backyard, my first summer watching stray cats scurry under our deck. This summer was about new beginnings, new ways to keep in touch, new ways to define home.
And that is the end of our trail. And so thank you for joining us. And if you can make it in person, we recommend you do. It's beautiful out here.